In the year 1915, the First World War was raging on. The Central Powers consisted of countries such as Germany and Turkey, which at the time was known as the Ottoman Empire, Bulgaria, and Austria-Hungary. The Central Powers were at war with the Allied powers. These countries were France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. As the West was fighting in the war on the more eastern side of Europe, the more Western Asian territory were in a more violent situation. For the longest time, Armenia and Turkey had been constantly at war with one another. Turkey was known for being a Muslim country and did not like anyone that was a non-Muslim. Armenia was the first country to adopt Christianity, and since they were pretty much landlocked together, the countries had no chance to not collide with one another. It also did not help Turkey because, unlike Turkey, Armenia and Russia, on the Allied power side, Russia's opponent, were the closest of friends. Russia was always also the same religion as Armenia, and the two countries always got along with one another. Turkey had the final straw when Russia asked Armenia for some supply aid, and Armenia did so to help their fellow allies. This irritated Turkey, now viewing the country of Armenia as traitors. With Armenia being the only Christian country completely landlocked and surrounded by Muslim countries, the Ottomans knew it would not be hard for them to escape their grasp. The Turkish government slowly began to restrict the Armenians living in Turkey of their rights. You may also recognize this nearly 2 decades later during World War II with the Holocaust. The Nazis did the same thing to the Jewish community. As the Turkish government slowly began to slip the Armenians of their rights, things went from bad to worse. The government began to round up all the Armenians. They were given the option to convert to Islam or risk losing their lives. Many Armenians refused to convert, which only a handful did convert, not only to save their own lives, but to save their family members. The Ottomans killed the Armenians in various ways, one of which included igniting a firing squad on them. The other, in which they were taken on death marches in the scorching hot weather. They were given no food, no water, and worst of all, no breaks. Anyone who did not keep up with the rest of the crowd was either shot dead or left behind to perish. I have also heard stories from my grandparents that the Armenians were lured into caves and the Turks would light a fire on the inside and would seal them off in the cave with no way out. Women were separated from their kids and were brought up as servants in Turkish households, and many were even subjected to rape and other forms of sexual assault. The children were given away and never to see their parents again. Some were fortunate to find homes, others no one really knows what happens to them. It is also not clear if these children ever reconnected after the genocide with their families. Many Armenians even went into hiding to avoid being captured by the government. In my family, only one member of my family survived, and her name was Alice Minasian. She was born in 1909 and was roughly the age of 16 years old. My family lived in a village in Izmir, Turkey. They lived in the village for the longest time and never had any issues. That is, until the genocide. My family, unfortunately, does not have much on Alice's story on her surviving the genocide. All we know is that she's the sole survivor, and that she hid in a Turkish household and was a servant for the family for a few years. That is, until they set her free to go to the United States. When she got to the United States, before her uncle was coming to the genocide, he paid for a boat ticket for her to come to the United States. She traveled and ended up in Marseille, France, and then later ended up in Providence, Rhode Island. She lived in Providence, Rhode Island until she met her future husband, Mike Sachechian, before moving to Worcester, Connecticut. Neither Alice nor her husband Mike went to college. They also did not have the money to be able to afford it. And at the time, unfortunately, the only amount of education Alice got was just kindergarten. She had 2 children, a son named Seth, who died very young, and the other daughter named Margaret, who eventually lived to the old age of 91, surrounded by her great-grandchildren and her grandchildren as well. The Armenian genocide kind of paved the way for Adolf Hitler as he treated the Jews during this population, but the unfortunate thing is no one really remembers the Armenian genocide because it was such a small thing. It's a country really that no one has really heard about. And Turkey still denies the genocide to this day, and they even cut it out of their textbooks, and it's never taught to the newest generation of schools. Even in modern day, if you talk about it in Turkey, you can get a lot of trouble. Russia and Armenia are still the best allies to this day, but the relationship between Turkey and Armenia after the genocide has been nothing but silence for 2 years.